Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm participating in Kiki Halbert's monthly YouTube collaboration, Scrapbooking from the Heart. We create layouts inspired by one-word prompts designed to make you think about why you are scrapbooking a particular layout. They also encourage you to look at your photos and your stories in a little bit more depth. February's prompt is appreciation. Now, before continuing, I just want to point out there are links to other participants in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. So in my video today, I am going to be talking about possible story ideas, mindful material selection, and of course, journaling. But first, I want to talk about story ideas based on this month's prompt, appreciation. So this can be a story about awareness of gratitude towards someone or something, big or small. Maybe you appreciate having friends and family in your life. That's big. Or maybe you appreciate that new shelf on your scrap room wall. That's small. It could be about a sign of appreciation, like a gift you offered a friend in response to an act of kindness, for example. Or it could be about a special interest. Maybe you have an appreciation for modern art. One more thing, it could be about something that is appreciated in value. Maybe a family heirloom that was a day-to-day ordinary object in the early 1900s, but it has increased in monetary value. All of these make fantastic stories. Now, I'm going to be showing you the photos that I'm going to be scrapbooking today and talking about my story. So I have two photos here. One of them is my kitchen counter while creating supper, and the other one is of my husband playing guitar. Now, there's more to the story than what you see here. We're listening to music. I'm bopping around the kitchen while cooking, a chore I don't particularly like, and the music is actually making it a lot better. Now, towards the end of this video, I'm going to talk more about journaling, and I'm going to share with you a quick trick I often use, which helps me get to the bottom of my photos. If there's a deeper meaning, it helps me find it. First, though, I want to talk about material selection here and mindful material selection. I matted my two photos in advance. I have this frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them, and there is a tutorial on my channel where I do that, so I'll link that up below. And the paper I have here is from the Jen Hadfield The Avenue collection, and this is a real homey collection. Now, if I look at these photos, they are about music, of course, and they are about meal preparation, but they're really mostly about being content at home. So I want my material that I use to really reflect my story here. So I want it to be about being at home. I want it to be about being content. I also want it to be maybe a little bit about music and maybe a little bit about cooking. So I did go through my stash and I found some more stuff as well. That paper there with the music notes, that is from Photoplay paper. It's from a collection called Vintage Girl. I have some black cardstock there. I do have a handful of embellishments, and the first ones I'm going to show you are the alphas. So I have those big black foam alphas. Those are from Simple Stories. I often use those. And these gold puffy titles, these again are from the Jen Hadfield Avenue collection. Lots of homey words, so that's perfect for my story. Now the gold in it inspired me to go find some more gold paper. That one there is from Stampin' Up, and I will be doing some die cutting with that later on in this video. I have some stickers as well as ephemera from the Avenue collection as well. I don't use a whole lot of this, but I do have it on my desk, and I actually went through the ephemera pack and kind of selected anything that had to do with being at home, anything to do with cooking, anything with my color scheme. So that's in that red bowl there. And I have these cards from My Mind's Eye. I just came across them. They are journaling cards, and I thought the colors went well with that vanilla color as well as the black. And you'll see later on I end up coming in with some punches and using those, so that's good. I used up a bit of stash here. So that pretty much covers it for my consumables, but I did go through my tools, which I often do before starting a project. That's some dies from Stampin' Up. They're called like cups and kettles, really, really old, but I love the cutlery in this collection. And since this is a story about mealtime preparation as well, I pulled those. I have this stamp set. It's called Acorny Thank You. And there's a little phrase in there that says, grateful for you. So I thought that would work, as well as these heart dies, because this is about being content at home. So that all fits into the theme. I also have a basket of tools that I always have on my desk. Those flowers there, I end up using them as well later on in the video. And again, they are always on my desktop. They work so well for completing embellishment clusters. So now what I'm going to do is start preparing my foundation page. And I just showed you a book there. It's an old book from Creative Scrappers. It's volume 3. And what I'm doing is I'm using a sketch I found in there by Sarah Zenger as a jumping off point. Because when I'm creating a layout where I'm using a lot of mental energy, I'm really thinking a lot about what this story means to me, I want the rest of it to be pretty easy, so I found myself a sketch for 2 photos and used that as my jumping off point. So now what you see me doing is cutting down a whole bunch of pieces of paper. So 4 different prints here. I made a large border, basically. It's about 5 inches wide, and I'll put measurements for everything I'm doing on the screen. So that's going to go across the page, and then I cut myself 3 4x6 papers in 3 different prints, and I kind of staggered them across that large border, and that creates a real layered look. Really an easy way to create a layered look, actually. And I'm going to place my photos on top of it. On the sketch, there was a circle that kind of overlapped that photo on the left where the journaling went, but I'm going to have a lot more journaling. So what I decided to do is replace the photomat on that main photo. And what you see me doing right now is creating another one, but this one's going to be like a little book. So instead of creating a photomat that's 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches, I basically doubled the length. So I cut myself an 11-inch strip of paper, still 4.25 inches wide. I scored it at 5.5 inches, and I made myself a little book. So now what I'm going to do is just simply place my photo on top of that, and I'm going to have the inside of this to place my journaling. This is also a great way to incorporate more photos on a layout. Now what you see me do is simply add ink to all of the pieces of paper before adhering it. And I don't make you watch all of that. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and adhere that border to the page along with those 3 pieces of paper. I just want to point out that I have that little photo book there, and my journaling is going to go inside, and my page protector is going to go on top of it. I do not put a slit in my page protector. So if somebody wants to read my journaling later on, they're going to have to be motivated to go underneath the page protector. And I'm okay with that. But some people like to cut a slit in their page protector. Now what you see me doing is getting out all of my embellishing around me. And I'm going to start by showing you the title here. So I did place my title on wax paper, which is Supper Time. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to separate supper and time or not. I'm just going to play around with stuff a little bit. I also have those titles there, and the one I really want I can't find. It says At Home. I had to stop the camera, and actually it fell on the floor, but now you're going to see I have it on my page. And now what I'm going to do is play around with the embellishing. So there was a tab in the ephemera pack, so I tucked that on the top leaf of that booklet with the photo, and that's going to be what I use to open up the little booklet to see the journaling inside. And I'm also going to punch out a bunch of these flowers. So I have large and small flowers, and I'm using those cards from My Mind's Eye. Great way of using up stash here. I think a moment ago I just showed you some dies. Those were the ones I showed you earlier. And what I will do off camera is cut out that cutlery. I cut out a few circles and a heart, I think, all in that metallic paper that I showed you earlier. But again, I do that off camera. There you see, I have them all cut out. So I have a whole bunch of embellishing around me. I'm going to work around with those pieces. So at this point, it's pretty general. I don't have a whole lot of embellishing going on here because I find the layered photomat really does take up a lot of visual space. So essentially what I'm doing is creating the largest embellishment cluster kind of at the bottom right corner of that photo on the right. And then I will create another one in the top left corner of the page around that photo there. And then essentially that title, which right now looks like a shelf, is going to be kind of bunched up in the middle of the page, and that's going to be my third embellishment cluster. So all I'm doing is working back and forth, not quite sure where I want to place things. I know I want to put that cutlery in there. I absolutely love it, but I don't know how it's going to fit in. It ends up being adhered exactly how you see it there right now. The supper time, at this point, I'm deciding to separate the words, and I'm happy with that, but I'm thinking I don't want the at home underneath, but you're going to see that gets switched up as well. This is typical me when I'm creating embellishment clusters. I am quite simply going back and forth all around, adding small bits, removing them, and that's just how I do it. What you see me doing right now is adhering the little photo booklet to the page, and you may notice I used a different adhesive. That's just a double-sided heavy-duty sticky tape, and whenever I add a interactive part on a page, I always use that tape simply because the item will be, or the piece will be manipulated, so I prefer to have a more heavy duty tape. I also want to point out there is a flower on top of that photo, the little photo book, but I am making sure that there is no adhesive, so that book opens up very, very easily. So you can see I'm adhering everything to the page. One of the flowers over on the right is popped up on foam adhesive. I'm adhering the title now. I stopped the camera and I continued, and it's at this point I decided to go with at home underneath the title as opposed to the heart. That was what I originally wanted, and that is truly what my story is about here, so that's what I wanted to do. Now I'm coming in and stamping from that stamp set, Grateful for You, and I'm doing it on that vanilla cardstock, but on the flip side of it, because it's a textured cardstock and the back side is flat, so it stamps better on the flat side. So I stamped that. That's going to go in that tab. And right now I'm taking out these puffy leaves from the collection, and I added a few to that cluster of flowers at the bottom right. I punched out Be Grateful for You, and I'm showing you that lined paper. That passed by really, really quickly, but basically it's from Bloom, it's from Go the Scenic Route collection from Paige Evans. I have 2 pieces of lined paper in there where I will do my journaling. And what I did was, when I was cleaning up my desk, the fact that I didn't have any wood grain embellishments in my clusters was kind of bothering me because the foundation page is a wood grain paper. So I found a few pieces of ephemera, and that's what you see me tucking in right now. I have that little, it's like a cutting board that I'm tucking behind that photo on the right. I have that little house that I tucked behind the photo on the left. I end up dropping the cutting board, but I did add a little wood grain heart in the bottom. So before showing you the stills, I do want to talk more about my photos and journaling. So how did I get to this story about appreciation from these 2 photos, one of my kitchen counter and the other of my husband playing guitar? Well, first I asked myself, what was happening that I don't see in these photos? And the answer, well, we were listening to music, the same song, over and over again on Spotify, each time by a different artist. And eventually my husband picked up his guitar and he played along as well. I was dancing while making supper. So the second question is, what was I feeling at the time? Well, the answer is, as much as I find meal preparation boring, listening to music makes it so much more pleasant. I love how he turns on the music as soon as I start cooking. Now, the answers to these questions weren't obvious when looking at the photos, but they certainly make a more meaningful story. So now I'm going to read you my journaling. I love how you turn on the music as soon as I enter the kitchen to make supper. Listening to 35 versions of the same song on Spotify, all by different artists, is so interesting. And you always pick up your guitar and at some point play along. I love that too, except when it's the electric guitar. Ha ha. You managed to get me bopping around the kitchen, enjoying myself while cooking supper, a mundane task I do probably 6 days a week. I also appreciate that yucky green drink you make me every morning and put in the fridge. It hits the spot at supper time when I'm preparing our meal and feeling a little peckish. I know you don't believe it, but it's true. I appreciate all that you do. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something from it. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. Don't forget to check out the other participants. Their links are in the description box below, and I'll be back on YouTube soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.